Hello, this is my Bio 111 biofuel video project, and the biofuel that I chose to talk to you about today is ethanol. What is ethanol? Ethanol is a renewable biofuel source made from various plant materials collectively known as biomass. More than 98% of U.S. gasoline contains ethanol to oxygenate the fuel. Typically, gasoline contains E10, which is a solution of 10% ethanol and 90% gasoline. Corn is the main biological source of ethanol, and then corn is a native plant starch that is native to North America. 45% of the world's corn gets used in ethanol production. The rest gets used for food. And then corn is mass farmed for food production, and it is grown in large quantities in fields. Production. Ethanol is produced by fermenting the starches and the sugar of the biomass that is being used, and then denaturants are added to fuel ethanol to make it undrinkable. Some of the most popular denaturants are methanol, isopropyl alcohol, acetone, and pyridine. And then on the right of the drawing, you will see the glycolysis fermentation process that is used to make ethanol. So under the absence of oxygen, it goes through anaerobic respiration, and then glycolysis begins, which the glucose breaks down in the pyruvate, producing ATP and NADH. And then the pyruvate is converted into ethanol and carbon dioxide, which is the main byproduct of ethanol production, and then it regenerates into NAD+. Availability. Ethanol is probably the most widely available biofuel, and it is only just increasing. Production capacity from 2008 to 2011 increased from 3.6 billion gallons of ethanol produced to 17.7, and something I found really interesting is that the United States produces most of the ethanol it consumes, meaning that it imports less ethanol than it produces for itself. And then the biggest country that did import ethanol to the United States was Brazil. So the increase in ethanol production has had a very great impact both environmentally and financially. From 2005 to 2019, corn ethanol's greenhouse gas emissions intensity was at a 23% reduction in the carbon footprint. And then some of the policies that helped generate this ethanol production was the Environmental Protection Agency's Renewable Fuel Standard and the California Low Carbon Fuel Standard. And then on the financial side, ethanol production created a $32.5 billion increase in household income. And then it also created a $54.2 billion increase in gross domestic product, which is the second highest product to ever increase this high. And then it also created a $10.4 billion increase in tax revenue for federal, state, and local governments. And then some of the other great things that it has produced is increased job production and rural economic development, especially in farming communities that produce the corn needed to make ethanol. Education. So there is a push to educate children in schools about the effects of ethanol production. The biggest one and the best one that I thought that I found was the Renewable Fuel Association. They provide an interactive e-learning program completely free online that teachers can use to educate students. To wrap up, some final thoughts that I have are overall, I believe we should push for the continuation of ethanol production. It has shown that it has increased benefits in the environment and the economy, and we are reaping in these benefits every day. With the current situation of our government and our administration we currently have not being typically favorable to policy that may support and help the environment and clean energy sources, the best plan of action we should do is to just be supportive of public policy and education that will keep the production of ethanol productively flowing. And this concludes my biofuels project on ethanol. I hope you learned something, and on the next clip will be my works cited page. Thank you.